Ladies and gentlemen, good news, new episode. Welcome back to the podcast where we talk about how to follow Jesus in a post-Christian world. Today's guest is a business leader in the community. He's a leader of leaders. He pioneers things. He's an investor. He's got great vision into finances. But beyond all that, he's a part of my immediate family. This man came into my life, I want to say going on almost 5 or 6 years ago. About 5 years ago. Yeah. Such an honor and a privilege to have CHRYSS on the show today.
That was a great intro. It's like I wrote it myself.
Don't you like that? Yeah. We take what we do very serious here at the Good News Show. You know, I got to say, it was about 5 years ago I met you.
Yeah.
And I remember you had come into our lives. You know, my wife's mom, my mother-in-law, had been looking for something next in her life. I think was looking for what God had for her, and in walked you.
Yeah.
And I think it was, at a Mexican restaurant, we shared our first meal together.
We did. I remember well. Yes, we did.
And I just got to tell you, I honor you. I love you so much. Beyond all that you do, I think just having a solid rock in our family like you, really appreciate you.
Well,
and
I
honor
appreciate you saying so.
Yeah, it's been great.
I feel the same about you.
Yeah, we got a big blended family.
We do.
Yeah, what's your favorite?
Keyword being big.
That's right. What's your favorite part about blended family?
It's an opportunity for growth and learning.
Yeah.
If you allow it to be.
Yeah.
Especially when you have two different cultures combining, in a blended family. There's different traditions. Holiday time. We just finished Thanksgiving.
We're in the holidays now.
We're coming up to Christmas. There's so many different traditions and things that people like to do or don't like to do. And it really is an opportunity for growth. I've had to grow quite a bit, and I'm far from done growing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I know that just marrying into Randy's family first, because I was from a smaller family. Yeah. They're obviously a bigger family. Just the cultural backgrounds. It's fun, though, to come to holidays.
It is.
We got to host it here at your house. I should say you hosted it here at your house. That's where we are at today. Everyone knows you, Pete. I think at least from this side of my life over here in California, a lot of friends and new family watching from New York. And I always just felt that need. I want to introduce people to people that are influences to me. And I could ask you about business, and we could talk strategy, and we could talk all the things that I think people know you for. I wanted to hear a little bit about you though today, your story. Yeah. Our show's called Good News because we believe no matter what your story is, there's good news in there somewhere.
Absolutely.
And so I'd love to just start, man, wherever you want to start. I mean, the first question I usually ask people is where are you from, born and raised, what was life like as a kid, that kind of stuff.
I was born and raised in the great state of New Jersey.
In Jersey, baby.
So I'm a Jersey boy. So, definitely a big fan of corner pizzerias. Yeah. In the state of New Jersey, you really don't have to have a favorite pizzeria. They're on every corner and they're all great. So one of the things that I miss most coming out to California is really good pizza.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so born and raised in New Jersey. Yep. What city?
Woodbridge.
Yep. Okay.
Right across the outer bridge from Staten Island, New York.
That's what I was saying. Yeah. So did you go to the city at all as a kid, or was it something like a distant, it was there?
I went to the city a few times, caught a Knick game at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, the epicenter of basketball. But I spent a lot of time in Staten Island because we lived right across the bridge.
Okay. So and what were some of your earliest memories like in terms of your neighborhood, your family, friends?
Well, we could go on forever, but I make no secret about it, and because I use it to explain to people, it doesn't matter what your background is. And I'll circle back to your question, I promise you.
Yeah, you're good.
It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter if you grew up in a mansion or you grew up in a shelter or anything in the middle. The one great equalizer in this world is entrepreneurship.
Come on.
It knows no race, creed, religion. Entrepreneurship is all about one thing: hard work and desire. That is it. So I grew up really rough in New Jersey. My parents were not ready to be parents and had some vices. And so me and my brothers grew up really tough. And I remember one story that I think your listeners will find some encouragement in.
Yeah.
Was 2 doors down from us was an old, grumpy old man. He was about 80 years old at that time. And he walked with a severe limp, had a big boot because he had a bad car accident. Always had a stub of a cigar in his mouth. He reminded me of the Rocky movies. He reminded me of Paulie.
Oh, okay.
He had the accent. He was always grumpy. And so 2 doors down, and my brothers and I were always in mischief in our neighborhood because we had no parental supervision.
Yeah.
So one day, old man Jack comes knocking on our door, and me and my brothers look at each other like, oh, he's going to tell us for something we did in his yard. We're dead. Our father's going to spank us. And he said to my mother, he said, look, I know you're alone, and these 3 boys are a handful. Why don't I take them off your hands on Saturday mornings from now on? And I'm going to take them to the bowling alley where I'm the manager. There's a youth league there. And we're like, oh, and my mother's like, yeah, take him, please take him.
Yeah, get him out
and we're
of
like,
here.
oh, great. Now we got to hang out with this old, crusty guy, And I don't say that disrespectfully. At the time, I was an ornery kid.
Sure.
So he drives us to the bowling alley with a little stub of a cigar, and we started to learn how to bowl. And we were in this youth league that we told him, look, we don't have the money to pay for this youth league. He's like, I didn't ask you that. I just said bowl. Learn the bowl. And then, we'd be nagging him about noontime, and he'd be like, why are you over here bothering me in my office? Go get something to eat at the snack bar. Jack, we don't have any money. I didn't ask you if you had money. I said go get something to eat. God darn kids. And he was just so grumpy. And to be honest with you, I hated him.
Yeah.
I hated that I had to hang out with this guy.
Just in your neighborhood, huh?
But at that bowling alley, I had such men come alongside me, men that were great at bowling and teach me and my brother Steve primarily how to bowl. And we were eating. We didn't eat at home. And it took me years to understand that was an angel.
Yeah.
That angry, grumpy man was sent to remove us, if only for a short period of time.
Yeah.
From a very, very volatile home. And we ate and we learned how to bowl, and he sponsored us for tournaments. And me and my brother Steve, to this day, are the only 3-time state doubles champions.
Come on. Come on.
And all
and
because
you credit that to Paulie.
Yeah, no, we do. And then
but I want to hit that for a second, because there's so many people when they're going through tough times, they don't think that in the middle of that tough time, something good can come out of it. Like as a kid, how old were you when you had an understanding like, oh, we don't have a normal life? Like we're not.
Pretty early on.
Really?
When my dad left the home, when I was about 11 or 12. My brothers were younger, 7 and 3 maybe.
Yeah.
And it was tough because when he left the home, he left permanently. And my mother, who previously had been a good mother, really fell into her own vices because she was destroyed. One thing that you can do to destroy your bride really quickly, guys, is the one thing you can do is infidelity. A woman would rather you have any other vice besides that, because it's the one vice that causes her to look in the mirror and say, what am I lacking?
That's great. What did I do?
What is wrong with me? So I watched my mother at an early age from being a good mother at home, dinner on the table at 5 o'clock every night, to just becoming a shell of herself and being destroyed from the inside out, till she literally became what my father did, and she became the female version of him. And my mother was never the same after that.
I'd imagine so. When someone doesn't have a healthy example, what else do they do?
Yeah.
That's why stories like yours are so great. I mean, I know we're only in the beginning of it, but a lot of people look at your life now and all that God's done for you and all that you have and all that he's continuing to do through you and for you. And they would never assume Pete came from a broken home.
Yeah.
Pete came from abusive parents. Pete came from financially ill, parents.
Whatever kind of abuse there was, physical, mental, verbal, sexual, it all happened to me when I was a child. And by the time I was a teenager, I was so angry. My father had me in boxing since I was 5 years old, because my father was very, very strict and very military-like. And he was raising men. That was his famous thing. I'm raising men. And his idea of a man is you don't cry. And you know how to fight. And he was dare I say, a brutal dictator.
Really?
He truly was.
How many kids total did he have?
Three. There was 3 of us.
So you mentioned your brother.
My brother Steve, my brother Scott.
My brother Scott, yeah.
Yeah. So, I was boxing since 5. By the time I was 15, 16, I was so angry at the world. I would get in fights every day. I was suspended or missing school practically every day. There was one school year I missed 86 days of school. This was a different day and age. The school didn't come looking for you back then. There was no CPS.
Pete's gone.
They chalked up a bad kid. Yeah, I was a bad kid, but nobody dived into what is going on at home.
Yeah.
What is causing this?
Because that's the core beginning of, I would say, almost every problem we see in society today. You could make the case starts in the home.
Yeah.
And what a family considers normal enables behavior outside of the house.
I remember I had 1 pair of jeans and 2 T-shirts that I wore to school every day.
Wow.
So every night I have to wash them, and then dry them. And this is the winter of New Jersey. You're familiar with winters now.
It's cold, man.
I would be walking to the bus stop and the steam's coming off my pants because they're still damp and the body heat.
Yeah.
I got made fun of for wearing the same clothes every day. So I fought. My way out of it was fight.
Pushing back against all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that like then? Like, cause take us back to that bowling alley, obviously understanding the context and how you were raised, those men that were teaching you bowling, it really was making up a void almost.
It was, and it was putting my energy into something productive. And then I found out the story behind Jack.
Yeah.
Jack, that car accident that ruined his leg. He was a drunk earlier in his life and ended up driving drunk and killing his wife and his son.
Oh.
And that's why he poured into youth at the bowling alley. And then I understood the anger.
Yeah.
Then I understood what got him so angry. And, just what an angel. Angels come in all shapes, sizes, forms.
Yeah.
Angels don't always have wings and have a halo and talk to you sweetly.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the people that annoy you have actually been assigned to you.
Yeah.
And what you consider a reason to be upset or angry, God asks us, are you be open?
Yeah.
This might be the very thing you need.
Yeah.
I tell our church sometimes, I say, where your natural family is lacking, your spiritual family makes up the difference.
Absolutely.
You've walked with me through a lot of the struggles with my mom and just coming to an understanding of what health and boundaries look like.
Yeah.
And although I didn't have my mom growing into my faith, there were women like Mary, like my mom, who I call my mom today, women that stepped up and filled that void. And so for you at that age, so did you get pretty good at bowling early on or what?
Yeah. I started late. I started 12 years old.
Okay.
But I did pretty well for myself.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I've seen you bowl now, still got it. We were in Las Vegas not too recently. On my channel, I got a vlog episode where you're bowling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can always tell you're a good bowler by the clothes you wear. Anybody that wears bowling clothes, like not just shirts, but with the sponsors on them. And then that's different now. It's different. So
you got to shout out the sponsors, right?
Yeah, shout out to the sponsors. Thanks for sponsoring this video. So tell me a little bit about then, did you graduate high school?
I did not. I have a 10th grade education.
Wow.
Which some people are shocked at too.
I'm shocked just to hear that, yeah.
Yeah. So I went to the 10th grade twice, and after the second year, the school literally just said, we don't want you back. Because I was trouble. I was always getting in fights. I was always suspended or just not showing up.
Yeah.
So I dropped out and I started hanging out with the wrong crowd in New Jersey. Started hanging out with the wrong people, doing the wrong things, and didn't know any better. Didn't care to know any better because I was so angry at the world. I was so angry. Why am I 16, 17 years old, sleeping in my car in the winter in New Jersey, depending on friends to eat, or frankly stealing to eat? And fighting in alleys, for $20. Yeah. Just to feed myself and give something to my brothers.
Yeah, was there a moment where you ever kind of looked at your life though and just wondered how did it get like this?
No, I knew. I was very angry at my parents.
Yeah. So most of the reasoning you would say was because of how you were raised and really on them. Yeah. When was there a shifting moment for you as a teen? Do you feel like?
Well, I was 18 years old and I was running with the wrong crowd, doing the wrong things. And my little 4'7" Greek grandmother was walking down the street and saw me and knew I was with the wrong crowd. Literally grabbed me by the ear in front of all my friends. Bad thing to do in New Jersey. Yeah. And literally took me back to her senior living apartment, in the middle of Perth Amboy, New Jersey, and grabbed her shoebox from under her bed. And my grandmother grew up really rough. She grew up in an orphanage and didn't know her parents.
Where's she from?
She's from New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. So she grew up in an orphanage. And back then at 18 years old, they just gave you a check for $100, said, good luck to you.
Yeah. Take care.
So she married a very, very abusive man, my grandfather. Very, very disciplinary type man. And lived a horribly abusive life.
Wow.
So she grabbed the shoebox and she took the last of her money and she said, I'm sending you to California to live with your cousin Lori, who was at the time a producer for Vin DeBona Productions, which is America's Funniest Home Videos and shows like that. And so she literally sent me to California with a cousin I had never met because she said, I'm not going to see you dead or in prison. You're out of here. I don't want you. I don't want you here. I love you too much. And I went there and I gave Lori fits, man.
Yeah.
18-year-old Guido from New Jersey didn't like to be told anything about anything.
No one's going to tell you what to do. Yeah.
And I was a gopher on America's Funniest Home Videos. Looking back, what an opportunity to rub elbows with some of the most brilliant people in Hollywood. I could have learned so much. if I had gotten out of my own way.
Yeah. See, that's interesting though, because most people think entitlement comes just from the successes in life.
Yeah.
But there is such a thing as you're entitled from your pain.
Yeah.
And because you went through it, you feel no one else has the right to tell you what you can do.
Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know what a gopher is, it's literally that. It's not gopher like the gopher.
Yeah.
It's gopher like gopher. Go for my coffee. Go for my bagel. Gopher.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm an advocate for what your grandma did though. Like there's plenty of times where I tell people either with a kid or someone they're caring for, they might just need a new scenery.
Yeah.
They might just need to start over. They might need to get
New
a breath.
circle.
New circle. Well, that's a word right there, Pete, because if you don't check your circle, you will wreck your life. It'll lead to whoever the sum total of your friends are.
The most well-rounded and developed Christian men that I know have a very small circle. Not because they're not popular, because they know.
It's because they're wise.
Because they know, I got to keep my circle near and dear and tight. And if you're not walking the journey with me, then I don't need you on this journey.
That's great. Yeah.
I may need you and you may need me for a season. Not everybody's meant to walk your whole journey with you.
That's true.
There's exits on a freeway for a reason.
Hello now. Yeah. And not everyone that got you to this point needs to go with you the next time. Well, and I think that's a dynamic that a lot of people struggle with. Like my friends, are they really there for me when it's bad? Or are they really there for them when it's good? There's this story when Peter first meets Jesus and the Bible says he pushes his boat out and Jesus starts preaching. And Peter throws down a net and he catches these fish. His nets were empty when he first met Jesus. Okay. There's another story 3.5 years later, Jesus resurrects and he tells them, throw your net to the other side. See if you catch a fish. And they catch all this fish. And all the boats come and help them. And the principle is there's some people that don't want to be around you when your net is empty.
That's right.
But they sure will want to come when your net is full. And something for friendship is if you don't want to be around me when my net is empty, I probably don't want you around when my net is full.
That's right.
Because it's not fair to the journey of getting there.
That's right. No, absolutely. Not everybody's meant for your whole journey. And, it's interesting because you don't learn that, at least I didn't, until much later in life. I mean, a lot of times, when you're young, it's a popularity contest. You
think you're all that. And it's all about appearances. I would agree with that. I mean, obviously I'm not, I'm still young. I like to consider myself young. But it's the more you go through, the more you understand you don't get everything your way. And that's good sometimes.
And you learn that you grow more outside of your comfort zone. When you play it safe, you may be successful to a degree. You might have happiness to a degree, but you're never going to grow like you do when you're outside your comfort zone. We got to force ourselves sometimes to jump in the pool when we know the water's a little cold and it's going to sting just for a second. There's a story, there's this, businessman who always played it safe, never went outside the comfort box, and, didn't have scars. We all get embarrassed sometimes about our scars in life. And I don't mean necessarily scars on us, scars in us. So he passes away and he goes to St. Peter at the pearly gates. Like we've all heard the story. And, he gets to meet Jesus and he shakes Jesus' hand and he feels the calluses from the nails on Jesus' hand. And he's like, wow, I could see the scars. And Jesus goes to him, hey, show me yours. He goes, I got none. I have no scars from life, Jesus. I took care of my body. And Jesus says to him, what a shame. And the man's confused and says, what do you mean? And Jesus says, what a shame that nothing in life was worth fighting for you.
Oh, that's so good. People are so surprised when they go through pain. And it's like the older you get, the more you understand it's a part of life. And it's necessary for human flourishing.
Absolutely.
That pain in life. Okay, so you get to California, you're a teenager. When did you when did your first kind of entrepreneurial break happen then?
Much later
in life. Yeah. So you get married then. I know that. How old were you when you got married first time?
I was I met her when I was 20.
Okay, so you get there 18. Eventually meet first wife at 20. How old were you when that marriage ended?
Oh, geez.
Would have been probably what, 40?
Gosh.
35, 40?
Well, it was 13, let's see, 2005, 2006. So, 14, 15 years ago.
Okay. So you're about 35.
17 years ago.
About 35 when you got divorced. Does that sound right? Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So
not the details of the divorce, but having to reset. After something like that.
The thing is, I literally, I married someone that I fell in love with, and it was your traditional love story. And she had 2 children, and I became a dad instantly. That was really tough because becoming a dad on the job training It is really tough. And I know everybody that becomes a dad has 9 months to prepare.
Right. It doesn't happen that quick with a manual, or you don't get instruction videos.
So it was really tough. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I made a lot of mistakes early on. And, I married someone who had some of the same characteristics of when I was growing up. It was comfortable to me. It was familiar to me. So it was really a tumultuous marriage in a lot of ways. I became an entrepreneur, to answer your question, when I was, back in 2000, I started my first security company. Before that, I had worked for a big firm and was a national trainer, and said, I want to be home more and I want to start my own firm. So I took literally my last paycheck and I started my first security company, which was very successful at a very fast rate.
Really?
And it caused me to move away from God, because it was, look what I'm doing. At the time, I was a youth pastor at my church, and I was very respected. Everybody thought, wow, he's got it all together. I had nothing together.
Yeah.
Look what I've done. Look at the business I've built. Look at the car I drive. Look at the car I have. Look at the cabin in the mountains. And it was about collecting things. And
accolades.
Because I had grown up so poor, like 3 square meals a day or none, I literally was so hell-bent on not ever needing anything that I collected things. And I did it just with a reckless abandon.
Really?
And God had to take me down. God had to say, you know what? I'm going to take everything away from you so you have nothing left. Not because I'm punishing you, because I want you back. And he stripped me in a matter of a year of everything.
Really?
Till there was nothing left to depend on except for him.
Man. Yeah, the Bible says that he chastises those whom he loves.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense, but it's not until you're at the very bottom you realize how much you need him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. When there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah. What was your background understanding of God? Like, as a kid, did your parents take you to church
I
at
grew
all?
up look, in New Jersey back then, if you were a white male, you were either Roman Catholic or Jewish. So I grew up Roman Catholic. I was the altar boy. I was an altar boy.
Oh, did all that stuff. Okay.
Did all that stuff. Yep. All the Catholic traditions and
we love Catholics. Love what they're about. I think too though. What was that like then? How you said you were a youth pastor at your church.
Yeah.
So when did that faith was that in the Catholic church?
No, that was an evangelical church.
Okay, so how did you find your way into evangelicalism?
Well, when I was going through my transition into California, I really fell away from the Catholic Church, and honestly, I just had some differences in theology with the Catholic Church, and I felt more comfortable for my walk, in an evangelical setting. That's just for me.
And that's real. And I have an episode with Joseph on this because he's in a predominantly Catholic area leading a Protestant church. Yep. And there's real theological differences. Yeah.
Nothing we can't all learn from.
No, 100%. Yeah. There's similarities. Yep. And too often as Christians, we go after the differences with Catholics before we talk similarities. But I talk to a lot of people like that. Okay. Yeah. So do you remember the first church you went to in California?
No, I don't remember.
No. So just end up, what was the church you were a youth pastor at? What city?
Family Life in Rancho Mirage.
Rancho Mirage. Come on. Yeah. Okay. Just leading kids and just telling them about Jesus.
It was a small church. We had one service, on Sundays. And
so cool.
But, the same kids, same families, grew some really, really great friendships there.
That's awesome.
To circle back to what you were saying about your circle being that, we had some great couples as friends at that church.
Really?
My first wife and I. Yeah. It just had, the Sunday barbecues and everything you'd expect church feel, in a small church.
It's great.
When I fell, and I looked to my left and I looked to my right, there was nobody there. Yeah. Yeah.
So everything gets stripped away.
Everything gets stripped.
Yep. Yeah. Get divorced, reset in life. Yeah. What does that re-entry into business look like after your first security company? Like, is there anything in you that when you fail, because we all fail, and John Maxwell has a thing where he says it all depends the direction you fail. Yeah. Some people fail backwards, some people fail forwards. Yeah. When you fail, what was that like trying to reset and go back after it again, or start another company, or date again, or just, have a relationship with kids again? Like, what's that like on a personal level to restart for you?
Well, the dating was the last thing on my mind, to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah. Tell that to people. That should be the last thing you worried about.
It was the last thing on my mind. When it took me probably 3 years to find myself again and realize who I was. I know this sounds weird, but for those of you who have gone through a messy divorce or a very traumatic experience in life, you'll understand this. I lost who I was in that marriage. I literally didn't even know what I enjoyed doing anymore.
Yeah.
I had stopped bowling. I wasn't bowling that whole marriage. And I just forgot who I was. I had to literally take a personal inventory and say, who are you and what do you even enjoy? Because I was so busy being her husband and serving her. Nothing wrong with a servant's heart.
100%. But if you don't know you.
But you got to be fed too.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Most people just want to find the right person that's compatible with them right now.
Yeah.
But it's not about finding the right person. It's about being the right person. Yeah. And you find somebody through being the healthy version of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's helpful.
You cannot love someone else if you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
You can never understand someone else if you don't have a good understanding of yourself.
Yeah.
But I started my second security company kind of the same way.
Yeah.
With very little money.
Yeah.
And I geared it more towards commercial and industrial and governmental applications.
Okay.
At that time, cameras were starting to get popular, access control.
So a little bit of a wave there.
Yeah. So I ended up selling that company a bunch of years later. And
so talk to us about that. You said you start with a little bit of money. How important is risk when you're trying to start something? Like, a lot of people, especially with investments, they're like, well, you don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
But if I'm an entrepreneur or I have a dream God's given me, or I'm thinking that I'm supposed to do something, talk to us a little bit about risk, like with little money, still trying it or going for it.
Different people at different ages have different risk tolerances. Somebody that's 55 years old should be a little bit more conservative than somebody that's 25.
Right.
The 25 is a lot of time they make up for a loss.
Got it.
Okay. So there is risk tolerances based on where you're at in life. But let me tell you, if you don't have skin in the game, then it's never going to be successful.
That's a word. Yes.
At all.
Yes.
You have to have skin in the game. And if you're not willing to look, how can we ever ask someone else to invest in us?
That we don't
I don't care if it's financially or spiritually or emotionally. I don't care if it's a love relationship or a business relationship. Yeah. How can you ever dare ask someone to invest in you when they don't see you investing in yourself?
That's 100% right. Yep. That's right. Yep. And that's the biggest thing, especially in pastoral ministry, is people don't just look at what you're telling them to do. Yeah. They look at the condition of you.
Are you doing what you're expecting out of me?
Others to do. Yeah. Because that's what Jesus did. He exemplified that. He would never ask somebody to do something he himself didn't do.
That's right.
And one of the stories that a lot of people always go back to is there's this rich young kid that comes up to him one day and he goes, "Hey, Jesus, how do I get eternal life?" Mm-hmm. And he goes, "Oh, you know the commandments, right?" He's messing with him. And the kid goes, "Oh yeah, I haven't done that. I've never broke a commandment since my birth." He goes, "Okay." And he goes, "Well, you lack one thing. Go sell everything you have and come and follow me."
Yeah.
And it says the kid left away disheartened because he didn't understand. Yeah. And the principle is Jesus knows what that's like. Yeah. To give up everything you have. Yeah. Because he left the riches of his presence with his father to come to earth to be a peasant. And we have to remember,
not only did he come to earth to be a peasant, but he felt pain and anxiety.
Yeah. Just like we do.
Before he went to his ultimate fate. He had anxiety. He didn't want to do that. He even asked God, if there's any way to pass this from me.
How can we skirt around it? Yeah.
Hey, I'll do it if you want me to, God, but if there's any way.
Okay. But people need to know this. The identity that Jesus had, obviously fully divine, we get all the theology. Yeah. But he was rooted in the Word of God. Yeah. He was the Word of God. Yeah. So I was talking to someone about this. There's that story in the desert where Jesus is with the devil and he tempts him. Yeah. And he says, "Jesus, if you're the Son of God, do this, do that." Yeah. And 3 times in a row, Jesus says, "It is written." Yeah. And he quotes what God has said. Yep. His identity was rooted on that foundation. Yeah. The chapter before, he gets baptized. So he could have been like, "Oh, I'm being tempted. What was my last spiritual experience like?"
Right.
And use that as his foundation. Right. What was the last conference I went to like? Right. What was the last relationship I was in? But that's a faulty foundation. Yeah. You will know who you are when you know who God is. And I think you said it so profoundly. It wasn't until I had nothing that I realized I needed to depend on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all go to God when things are good. When things are bad. It's easy to go to God. And then when things are good, okay, I'll put him back on the shelf.
Yeah.
I'll come see you next time.
That's how it goes. C.S. Lewis says God screams at us when we're in our pain, but he whispers to us when we're in our pleasures. Yeah. And you don't think you need him when everything's good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And if you ever want to wonder how God feels about that, if you're a parent, think about if your child only came around when they needed some money or needed to borrow your car. Yeah. But when you were going through tough times, they were too busy for you. Their life was too busy.
Yeah.
He literally loves us just like that.
Yeah, I can't imagine my daughter saying, I didn't want to come to you. I wanted to figure it out first.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I'm here for
I don't need you, Dad. I don't need you.
I can figure this out. No, that's so profound, Pete. Okay, so what's that like then from the time that you started the second security company? I obviously think you have a great call to entrepreneurship, not personally, but to help entrepreneurs. Yeah. When did you first realize that you were a leader? Like maybe not from your school days and all that, but like when did you in business realize like, oh, wow, I actually have something to contribute? Yeah. Like, can you think of that?
Well, I remember the first time I got in trouble, for it. It was fourth grade. Teacher conference, I got whooped when my dad came home because my teacher said, he's a lawyer. He's going to be a lawyer. He's always trying to defend everybody else and stick up for everybody else. And he's always putting his nose where it doesn't belong.
Objecting in the middle class.
Yeah. So it's funny. To this day, I have, profound love for the law and the legal system. But, I think when I came back out of retirement to work with my son, which is an amazing opportunity, of course. Yeah. To start a security company with him, and starting Desert Elite, which is a group of very, very well-known and well-respected entrepreneurs in this area that I live in, and being able to lead them and having them understand that we are stronger together. That's cool. And as a community, we can do so much good for the community. I think that's when I really started to really embrace my role.
Yeah, that's the quicker you can embrace it, the more fruit can come from it. So Desert Elite is kind of like a collective of business leaders here in the Coachella Valley. How many business leaders are in it?
50.
50. Right. Okay. And this is a monthly get together you do with them? Or? Weekly.
Weekly. Monthly's just not enough. Look, if we're being honest with ourselves, none of us have it all figured out. Yeah. And none of us are proficient in everything. You have some that are great in sales, some that are great in marketing, some that are great at proposals or presentations. How wonderful is it that we get to sit in a room and plug our weaknesses with other people's strengths? Some of the best presidents of the United States that I've ever studied weren't necessarily the most brilliant, weren't necessarily the most well-spoken, but they understood one thing. My cabinet is everything.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Proverbs says there's safety in a multitude of counselors.
Yeah.
Having those people around. So when you say it's a place where you guys get to build each other's weaknesses with strengths, you guys also do referrals as well, right?
We do. Obviously we refer business to one another, and we do a lot for the community. And
I'm seeing a big rise in that there is in the public a desire for more connectedness where they put their dollars. Yeah. And it seems like as consumers are being they're not being more picky. I think they're wanting to know which companies hold my value that I can give to.
And that's true. None of us in business, I don't care what your field is, if you tell yourself you're unique and you're one of a kind, you're lying to yourself and you're limiting your growth potential.
Yes.
None of us are so unique that our service or our product can't be found somewhere else. People buy you. People do business with you because they like you and can relate to you. If they don't like you, or they see a lack of integrity, or they don't align with you, no matter how much they need your product or service, they will find someone else to open their wallet to.
Yes. Yeah.
So we get lost sometimes in the product or the service and forget about the human connection and the relationship.
And that's what people want, though. Like you said, I went to a coffee shop here in town with a friend of mine, and we went in, and really nice place, kind of new to the area. And the barista, as soon as he walks in, he goes, "Oh, hey," and he named him by first name. Yeah. And I was like, he goes, "Hey." And then another person walked in and goes, "Hey," and they named him by first name. I'm like, "What?" And then the owner walks in and goes, "Hey."
And there's the connection.
And they named my friend again. Now, we paid $7 for a latte, but guess what? You'll pay whatever price because you get the experience.
That's right.
And I love what you said. If you think you're so special, no one else can do it. What would you tell somebody maybe that's trying to get something off the ground, maybe trying to get something out there, and they don't have that personal connection yet with their clients? Like any strategy or anything you would offer to say, like, here's what you got to start doing?
The best salesman in the world that I've ever seen, myself, I stopped selling years ago. Yeah. I don't sell. When I go on a sales consultation, I want to know about you. The pictures on the wall of you coaching Lily, I want to know about that. I want to know about your son. I want to know about you. Yeah. If we make that connection, you'll ask me about what I do. Yeah. The best salesmen in the world don't sell a thing. They build relationships.
Great. That's great.
They build relationships.
That's great. Yeah, I heard one person say it's not the products you're selling, it's the stories you're telling.
Yeah.
And it's the person-to-person connection.
That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So if you're looking to get something off the ground, the first thing you need to do is surround yourself with people that are wiser and more discerning than you.
Yeah.
Find people that have done it successfully and have failed at it.
Yeah. Do you think, though, there's an insecurity in some people when it comes to getting advice from people more experienced? Like, I think I see that a lot, not just in business, but in life. People that know they need the help, but every time the help is given, it almost makes them feel.
You know, there's one thing when you have that entrepreneurial, gene, you have to have a certain amount of alpha gene in you too to do that.
Got it.
And everybody looks at entrepreneurship. It's, it's cool. It's sexy.
Yeah. It sounds good.
Yeah. They don't see the amount of hours you're putting in at less than minimum wage because you're putting in a lot of hours. Yeah. So, having that alpha gene, a lot of times we do walk in saying, I don't need your help. Well, wait a minute, Jim, you failed at this exact same 3 years ago. Yeah. That's exactly why I need to talk to Jim.
Exactly why. Because
so I don't walk that same failing path.
Man, that's so good. Don't push people away that have failed.
Yeah.
There might be lessons to be learned.
Absolutely there are.
Yeah.
If you could save me from skinning my knee, I need to listen to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing new under the sun. There's someone that is doing your type of thing already.
That's right.
Probably doing it better than you. And the quicker you can acknowledge that, the quicker you can improve yours.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the security company with your son, you mentioned was that your third security company?
Yeah.
Come on, third time's a charm.
Third time.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. And then Desert Elite, you're doing as well. Yeah. That's incredible. I want to maybe spend the last part of this interview talking a little about your personal dynamic with your, talk to me a little bit about your wife now.
So my wife married.
How did you guys meet? How did you guys come into connection?
It's interesting. I mean, she has a little bit different version of how we met.
Okay.
Mine's the accurate one.
Okay. I was going to say, she is going to watch this. I already know, Mom, you're watching.
So Mom had sown a seed at her church the Christmas season prior, I believe it was. And she sown a seed that she wanted, a God-fearing man in her life. She had gone through a divorce herself, broken home herself, and she sowed a seed. And in February, we were friends on Facebook, but honestly, we weren't friends. You know how you're friends with people on Facebook.
You're friends with everyone.
Yeah, you're friends with everybody, but you barely know them. Sure. So, I mean, she knew of me. I knew of her very little. And a friend of mine had a mutual friend. Mom had inquired to him about me, and just general question. And this is my version, Mary, and it's the true version. So, she had said, "Who is this guy? What's he about?" And I'm giving you a Cliff Note version. And he said, "Well, do you want me to mention you to him?" And she's like, "Oh, heavens no. Don't tell him I was asking about him." Well, of course, guy code. He called me up immediately.
He let you know what was.
Long story short, I reached out to her. We talked on the phone for about an hour that night and started really building a relationship over the phone, and ended up having lunch and dinner and met you guys rather quickly. Yeah. And it was a whirlwind romance. We were dating for 8 months, courting for 8 months when I proposed. When we got married, we were dating 8 months. But, we were in our late 40s and, you know what you want and you know what you don't want by then. So we were able to move through a lot of the, navigate a lot of the early dating fiascos that younger people go through a little bit easier.
Yeah. So. And I think for anybody listening that, is divorced recently or in the past, there is real hope that if you desire a relationship, God will bring you the right person.
Yeah.
Each divorce is different. And obviously there's theology on all this, which I could get into the weeds on. But I mean, it's like, a lot of people just give up completely. And it's like, if you want that, like you said, you know what you wanted, you knew what you didn't want it.
I was single for 13 years between my marriages. Wow. And I needed that.
I remember this. Yeah. I remember coming to crash with you actually when you were single.
Yeah.
Yeah. We watched the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fight.
Yes.
Yeah. I have several sports memories with you, just so you know.
Yeah. I'm a sports junkie. So.
Yes. In case you didn't know, Pete's sports junkie. But I remember we were watching the Toronto Raptors game in this room.
We did.
Remember? And Kawhi Leonard hit that shot where it kind of
the
bounced.
Impossible shot.
Yes. I just
over Embiid.
our minds. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 13 years.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, she was well worth the wait. Wow. She's a better woman than I deserved. And every day I work, failing most, but every day I work to be just 1% better for her than I was the day before. Yeah. You got the right person when even in your worst day, she thinks you hung the moon. How do you not love a woman like that?
Yeah, it's like that's how it should be. You know, no matter how your day is, like you're already starting at a 5 because there's so much love there.
Absolutely.
And there's so much commitment there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how many kids and grandkids on your side?
Oh, geez.
Just for you.
Oh, just for me.
Just you.
Okay. Well, the grandkids are a little harder to, because
so how many kids did you bring into this marriage? 5 kids.
Yeah.
How many does she bring in?
3.
Yep. Okay. So we have 8 kids now in this blended family.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little about that. Talk to us, because I mean, at blended families, I think by 2030, it's going to be like 40% or something like that. It's just becoming a common thing, a beautiful thing, but let's be honest, a messy thing at times.
It is, because you don't have the same cultures, traditions, anything. You're raised differently, and you know. You have a white family and a Mexican family.
Yep.
You know,
very different backgrounds.
Hey, Thanksgiving to us is eat real quick, put it away, watch a football game. You know, yeah. I mean, the Mexican family. I mean,
it's all day, all night.
It's all day, all night.
People coming over at 9. I was like, I'm going to bed.
And neither's right or wrong. It's finding that balance in between the two. And there's so much to be learned from the different cultures. But yeah, it's we've had some great stories about the blending. We've also had some rough hiccups where it's like, whoa, that's not how we do it.
Right.
You know, and it took some time. And honestly, she's more patient than I am. Yeah. It took some time, and her saying, that's not the way you do it, but that doesn't mean it's right or wrong.
That's good. Yeah, because you almost have to unlearn your normal before and rebuild now. What does this look like as a blended family? And too many families take the expectations from their first families and they bring it in like, oh, well, your new wife's going to be like my mom, or my new dad's going to be like, and the expectation I think has to start from the ground up.
Well, it's very hard for a second marriage to succeed, second or third marriage or fourth or whatever it is. Yeah. But it's very hard to succeed because too many people come into the second marriage with the same luggage from the first marriage. They never unpacked.
Never unpacked.
So they bring that luggage to the second marriage.
That's good. This is helpful, man. Yeah, it is a common thing. I'm seeing more and more people that are like, hey, this is
you got to clean out that closet. Yeah. You come in with a loaded closet and your spouse opens up the door and everything falls on them.
Yeah. And it's different for each couple too. It's like, it's hard to make these blanket ideas of here's what blended family is. Yeah. You got to do the hard work of knowing the context and understanding your kids' desires with their biological parents, but also your desires with your new spouse. Yeah. You know, I just honor you and mom for how you guys do it. I mean, we were just talking recently and I said, this table means so much to me in this house because we've sat down on so many different occasions and we've had great conversations, we've had confrontations, we've had jokes, and that's what a blended family is.
And some darn good steaks.
Listen, don't forget that. I'm a sucker for a ribeye. But yeah, it's something I honor about you guys. It's not easy.
It's not, and we're still learning the process. Yeah. There's still hiccups, there's still speed bumps, and there's a lot of different personalities to manage. And I'm learning recently, I don't always have to manage them.
Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur and, having that alpha gene and solving problems all day doesn't mean I have to come home. I'm not going to be able to solve every problem.
That's great.
And I'm learning that it's okay if I can't solve every problem. Yeah. And it's okay. See, in the business community, it's very hard to say, I don't know.
Because you'll go find somebody else to do it.
Yes. But at home, I've learned as a dad, it's okay to say, I don't know.
Yeah, it's healthy.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a healthy acceptance that you can only do so much.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Psalms is Psalm 132. It's only 3 verses long. And it starts by saying, I do not concern myself with things that are too great for me. And he says, like a weaned child with its mother is my soul within me. And it's like, I just stopped caring about things that are above my pay grade. Yeah. And I can't fix people. I can't change people. I can present, I can show, I can lead by example. Yeah. But ultimately, they got to make that decision.
That's right.
And
it might not be the one that you desire.
100%. And that's in everything in life, though. That's with your coworkers. That's with your friends. That's with your families. That's,
with your sports team.
Listen, don't talk to me about the Bills right now. Okay. It's been a rough month. Okay. I'm just going to start watching the last 3 seconds of Bills games now, because that's when it ends. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's when it falls apart anyways. Yeah. It's been a joy, though, to live out there in New York. Talk to me a little bit as we kind of wrap up about where you're at today. Like, obviously, business and entrepreneurship, we could talk all that, but when you look at like your goals as a man, as a husband, as a father.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
51.
51. You look great for 51.
Yeah, thank you.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Come on now. So what do you feel like is this next stage of your life? I mean,
I'm just enjoying this stage right now.
Yeah.
And it's the grandkids, those babies.
Yeah.
I mean, just to have them around and see them so happy and just full of love and joy and caring. And, there's a lot that we can learn from children.
Yeah.
They haven't been jaded like we have in the world. And you look at just the pure, unadulterated love that they have for one another and so they have for you. I just enjoy watching them. I'm their biggest fan. And I just love that.
Yeah. And you were out here playing around with my daughter last night, running around playing basketball on the toy thing. Kids refresh our souls though sometimes, don't they? Like in church, I love seeing kids because Jesus said we should welcome them.
Yeah.
And he actually said, unless you become like a kid, you're not going to be fit to go to the
kingdom. They remind us of what's important, what's truly important. We get lost in our day and they remind us of what's important.
Yeah. Yeah. What's a day for you look like? Like in terms of do you have a pretty set routine for your day?
I'm so routined that it drives Mary crazy. I'm so routine.
Really?
Every day is the same process. Like she could tell you my whole process. I get up, I make the bed. Sometimes when she's not done sleeping, she'll get up to use the restroom and I make the bed. And I'll come out, I'll make my coffee, I'll watch the morning news. And it's the same principle every day. But discipline is good. And I think principle and a routine is good.
Yeah. See, that's the thing I'm trying to understand about when Jesus says, be like a child. It's like, okay, a child sometimes just kind of goes through life and whatever, but yet there is a real call to have discipline and routine. And there's got to be a way for those to merge.
Yeah.
Like there's got a way for me to have faith like a child, but to live life like an adult.
Sure.
And that's like the Bible says, when I became a man, I put away childish things.
Yeah.
But yet Jesus says, be like a child.
Right.
So what do you make of that scripture when he says, unless you be like a child, you're not fit to follow me? What does that mean to you?
I interpret it as the pure heart of a child. A child's heart is so pure. They don't understand racism. They don't understand, this person's less than this person, or this person's more because they grew up here.
Sure.
They just see another kid and they run over and they want to play. Yeah. I think to me, that's what that means. Yeah. We immediately, even the purest of us as adults, we scan and we make judgments on people all the time.
So good.
Somebody might come to us and they're, not treating us like they should, a client, let's say. And rather than say, wow, what a, unpleasant person.
Right.
We don't look at what's happening in their day. Yeah. I'm sure this has less to do about me and more about what's going on in their day. So we pass judgments on people all day, every day. And children, they get to the playground, they see other kids.
They're just happy.
Black, white, curly hair, blonde hair. They just want to go and be a part of the process.
I find kids to be less skeptical too,
Yeah.
They just believe things.
Yeah.
They're going to ask why, of course.
Yeah.
But as a dad, when I tell my daughter something, she just believes me.
Yeah.
She doesn't sit there and say, well, it's been proven otherwise though. Or that's debatable.
Now, how different would our world be if we just believed our Father? If we just blindly said, that's my dad, and he would not lie to me.
I believe what he says.
How different would the world be if we had that kind of a heart of a child?
Yeah.
To say, my dad said it, so it's got to be true.
Yeah, I think that's what he says in Matthew 18 when he says, be like a child. I think he's saying, believe what's said.
Yeah.
Because, I'll end with this, and I want to sign out with all your plugs and how people can connect with you and stuff. But, he several times, he would say things that would just stump people.
Yeah.
And one day he was doing miracles and they go, what do we do?
Yeah.
How can we do the works of God? John 6. How do we do those works? And he says this, believe in the one whom the Father sent.
Yeah.
That's frustrating when you're a type A personality. You need lists, you need steps. And you're like, how do I do the works of God? Give me the 10 steps, Jesus. And he goes, believe.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you practice? Like, what?
Absolutely.
Shouldn't I do A plus B and get C? And he says, no, just believe. And belief looks different every day. But the call isn't to have the answers. It's just to believe what was said.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. How can people get in touch with you, man? Are you on Facebook or on Instagram at all?
Yeah, I'm Pete CHRYSS, last name CHRYSS. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Firstcallpd.com is our website for the business. And Desert Elite RP, as in referralpartners.com.
Nice.
Is Desert Elites. I don't care if you're not from my area. If you want some business help, or we just want to talk about business in your area, or what's worked and not worked with us. give me a call.
Yeah, we'll send you a message. I'll link everything that Pete shared in the description below. Thank you, Pete. This was great, man.
You.
I had an idea of how this was going to go, but it just went 10 times better. Yeah, and so I'm so thankful that you opened up.
Just have a conversation, man.
Yeah, thank you for sharing about your story. And I know a lot of people listening, that might know you, probably heard some things for the first time. Sure. So I appreciate your vulnerability and we're thankful for you. Well, hey, that's all for this episode, friends. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It's been a good couple weeks, but we've got even better interviews coming up. And so I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. Until then, this is Good News Podcast. We'll see you next time. Fantastic.
There we go.
That was great, dude. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. It's great when it just flows.
Oh, yeah.